They say that fish that swim uphill against the current drown. It's at its most innocent interpretation, a saying to tell people, take the easy road, take the easy way out. Don't fight against the current. Don't do the hard path, do the easy path. Well, I would say in TNT, we have suffered for years, if not decades, if not our entire nation's life being independent. We have suffered from potentially always looking to take the easy road instead of the hard road. The easy road, well, we get short-term benefits usually at the expense of the long term. So to those that say, if you swim against the current, you're going to drown, I say, I'm going to just keep swimming. Sean Michael Small here with my co-host, Mr. Keaton Shah. Keaton, good morning.
They say if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. If you teach him how to fish, he'll learn to drink booze for the rest of his life. Good morning, Sean Michael Small. How are you? I don't know where you come with your introduction, so I thought I'd just probably add.
That was a good one. That was a good one. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess, listen, the dangers of the sea for our local fishermen. We don't have to go to Alaska where everything is tough in Alaska, or Australia where, you know, there's a million and one things that could poison you. Just our local fishermen. It's so wrought with danger. I won't be surprised and I won't admonish them if they decide that they need a little alcoholic spirits to help cope.
I've had a conversation most recently about alcohol consumption here in Trinidad and Tobago, and what I've learned in my discussions is that the consumption of alcohol in excessive amounts not only is a form of therapy for some, but it's actually their only form of leisure or recreation. So people, yes. Because oftentimes, even on my travels to work in the morning, I would see people outside groceries. You know, there's some shops that open at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm surprised many times to even see bars open at that time. And people are consuming alcohol when the sun hasn't even woken up from its slumbers yet. And I'm like, what's going on here? And apparently, it's a form of therapy because even though this is something that has been going on for decades, we had a conversation this morning with our directors. People used to drink alcohol before going to cut cane in the hot sun, and people used to drink alcohol after cutting the cane in the hot sun. I didn't realize to the extent that alcohol is just so much a part of someone's everyday life. People sometimes cannot wait until they wake up to go and have a drink.
The problem is we take for granted the accessibility of drinking water. Because think about it. There were a time when a lot of modern convenience we take for granted. Sanitation, right? Food purification. That's why salt fish and salted pork exist and smoked meat exists. It wasn't a style of cooking. There were no fridges.
It was a way of preserving the meat.
It was a way of preserving meat. Yeah. And clean water is the same thing. If a modern individual drinks river water, no matter how clean it looks, you pose a risk. And of course, drinking salt water, it's not even the salt, it's all of the organisms in it that's gonna wreak havoc with your stomach and your digestive system. So alcohol, at some point in history, was a safe way to drink something.
It's also a way for putting it into context here in TNT, of people literally filling their belly.
Yeah.
Because I often question.
I mean, that's an expensive way to fill one's belly.
Not necessarily. I've seen people who would rather drink one beer or one stout, get full from it, and that's their dinner.
Who gets full from one beer?
Yeah, don't push people.
Think about it though, right? When people drink, they don't just have one beer.
No, I know.
So to say that one beer
I know because
to replace a meal.
I know, but I use this in referencing where I've seen people quite literally begging you for $1. People asking for money, and they have a beer in their hand. And again, I try to figure it out, and I've asked questions, and some have said it's basically my dinner, it's my meal.
Here's the thing though. It actually goes back.
Poor choice though, but
it actually goes back to how I opened the show. To what extent now is that on an individual level you're taking the easy way out? Because on an empty stomach, alcohol is also going to be at times, it's going to have a certain level of effect, right? Be a bit more effective. And, for some people, it's thrill-seeking and adventure-seeking, but that costs money, right? For some people, it's recreational activities, and for some people, it's the bottle.
I try to figure out exactly what is the thrill with alcohol. Like, you get the impression sometimes that people worship alcohol.
I think at some point, when you drink enough...
And they have some teenagers
out
there.
When you are younger, the first, second, third time, and then also when you're younger, it works differently. There was a little bit of a thrill, right? It's a new experience. Yeah, but once you had...
I said teenagers. I said they have teenagers out there. And let me rephrase. They have teenagers and young adults, probably in the 20s, mid-20s, 30s as well, whom every time they go out for a drink, have to take a photo of the drink and post it to social media. And I often wonder what's that. And teenagers, more often than not, I have seen instances where they're holding a bottle of alcohol, whatever it may be, and kissing the bottle. And it seems as though there's such an infatuation with alcohol. I'm amazed.
Your problem was, you came out to the womb at 52. So you never experienced...
No, that's wrong. I came out to the womb at 65.
At 65. So you never experienced what drinking and partying is like for a young person, right? You just,
Yeah, I was a veteran by the time I was born.
By the time you was born, this was all hot. Because, at your age and younger, drinking is a lot different than at my age and older, right? It's a lot different.
I think when I celebrated my 18th birthday, Saturday Night Fever was just becoming a hit, so quite possibly. Anyway, Sean Michael Small, let's get into the bloody dealer review, please.
yeah, Saturday when you turned 18, Saturday Night Fever. Yeah, right. Okay. In spirit, yes, I see you. All right, let's go. Daily review, folks. Enough of this. All right, so we had our fun, now time for the heavy. And the situation with the Northwest Regional Health Authority's recent string of unfortunate premature babies dying in the NICU has now started to touch on the legal dimension. Pre-action protocol letters for 2 of the mothers, I believe, have been sent out. And there's an expectation for at least 4 more to be sent in short order. This is leading up to a judge considering all of the matters individually and then deciding if it could be grouped together in a class action lawsuit. I'm not entirely sure with regards to the 7th mother just yet. I haven't seen what her decision was. Now, the real issue is, to some extent, not that. The real issue is the fact, Keaton, that the group of lawyers headed by Anand Ramlogan, they have brought light to the fact that the NWRHA is attempting to contact their clients to have a meeting with them without disclosing details of the meeting, so if they will even accept the lawyers as the legal representation for their clients to come in as part of the meeting, what the purpose of the meeting is for. And they have concerns over the fact that, well, what is the intention? Is it in good faith or is it in bad faith? Because they already have concerns about previous allegations about records being missing, being potentially, adjusted or manipulated. Again, I don't know if they would have any evidence of something, of actual convictions of fraud, but allegations, suspicions of. And I have actually just recently saw something online about a previous story where someone was dealing with insurance or something to that degree, and the retailer, it was a return. It was just retail, right? But the point is, the retailer attempted to get the person to sign something to say, well, I can't return what I'm trying to return. The moment they were trying to return, it was a very scummy move. Now, this is a bit more serious, but I think the lawyers, they're not necessarily saying that the NWRHA they're accusing of anything specific. They just say the possibilities of convincing my client to agree to or accept something, whether verbally, written, or otherwise, that would be to their detriment. I suspect that is just one of the things that the legal representation of these mothers are concerned about, especially since they brought to the fact that, look, we sent you a pre-action protocol letter to your legal unit, you should be aware of it. So to attempt to what they say is bypassing the client's legal representation could be in bad faith, could be unethical. I'm not too sure if I'll go straight there just yet.
A couple of things. First of all, our condolences to the family. The story is tragic to say the least. The photos that have been released to the press of some of the mothers actually holding their babies, it made me very emotional taking a look at that. But when the story broke of the intention to actually take or have legal proceedings against the NWRHA over this, one newspaper was actually who contacted the CEO of the NWRHA, I think Mr. Blake. He indicated that up until that time he had not received the pre-action protocol letter, so he was not actually aware of it. Now this is 48 hours later. And a meeting, I believe, was due to take place today. We're not entirely sure whether or not that meeting will actually happen. I think Mr. Blake of the NWRH has also indicated that an investigation, hopefully with the assistance of Karuri and PAHO, is to take place. And he's promising full disclosure and open, honest investigation. The Minister of Health has he's really empathized with the families, indicating that, if he were one of the parents, of course he would want to see his day in court. So he understands why parents want to see their day in court. He's also indicated that the Attorney General, because of the indication of legal proceedings happening, is putting a team together. With all that information being said now and put on the table, I cannot in any way fault the families for not wanting to attend a meeting because of any issues regarding the presence of their legal representation. Given the fact that there's been all indications that there is an intent to proceed through the court system, it is in their right to have present their legal representatives. If the NWRHA did not, however, did not receive the pre-action protocol letter, nor was there any sort of confirmation or acknowledgement of such letter, then there may have been, in some way or the other, some form of miscommunication between the legal team and the NWRHA. I'm saying that is one possibility. I'm not saying that has happened. So I could understand if the NWRHA did not include in any correspondence the legal representatives. However, if there was acknowledgement or confirmation that the letter was received by the NWRHA and the requisite offices, then therefore the NWRHA should have informed, in fact should have communicated with the families through their legal representation. I am of the opinion that the families attending the meeting today, if they are, should have their lawyers present. That is my opinion. I can understand their hesitation.
And they should go. I think they should go with their lawyers.
I think they should go. Now, you see, the thing is, at the end of the day, even though their lawyers might not have been included in any correspondence, there is nothing to say that they cannot attend the meeting or show up to the meeting without their legal representatives. So they can still go to the meeting, they can show up with their attorneys at law. However, if then the NWRH refuses to conduct the meeting because of the legal minds present, question marks, walk out of that meeting. Again, I do not like to advocate for state entities being sued in the sense that everyone suffers. I think people need to understand me. I think people need to understand me when I say that. However, I also understand the need for clarity. I also understand the need for these masses to be taken to court to ensure, or to hopefully ensure, that instances like this don't happen again. The reason why I say I'm not in favor of legal action is because it's never necessarily a good thing when Millions have to be forked because of the negligence of others. But I do understand why.
Well, I mean, if at some point the law will allow for the individuals to be financially liable, at least in part, if not in total, right?
Which I think is something that needs to be looked at as
That
well.
is true.
But,
However,
but there are many elements to this case.
This is the thing. If the authorities cannot keep their subordinates into account, so the thing is, I'm not saying that the minister, I know what the opposition said, I think that's premature, because he is not part of the decision-making cycle.
What's that, dismissing the minister?
Dismissing the minister.
No, that was ridiculous.
Right?
Part of
He's not part of the decision-making cycle.
That was ridiculous.
He's part of the long-term cycle. So in the long run, if this situation exposes his inability to hold the CMO, who's supposed to hold the people under him, who's supposed to hold the head of Port of Spain, who's supposed to hold the head of NICU into account, it has to go down the chain. Just what I say about national security, right? But the thing is, right now, to some extent, we see somewhere along that chain, it's not working for a lot of different government agencies. So I have no problem, because to the voters, at some point, the money going out comes from the government's treasury, which is the money of the people, and we should hold the politicians to account for that.
I think where, in my opinion, where you start off with is from the ground level, those who are actually charged with sanitizing the area, because I did some research on neonatal sepsis, which is the cause of death for the 7 babies. And its exposure to for example, rooms where bacteria such as Listeria, E. coli are present.
They say 3 bacteria were found. It was one of the reports that came out over the weekend or yesterday.
Right.
I'm just trying to find it here.
And neonatal sepsis happens within 90 days of a child being born.
Yeah.
Of course, the main treatment is antibiotics.
Yeah, they have the name of these 3 bacteria, but I can't pronounce them.
So there are a couple of things that I also, sometimes the scientific names are just, but another question mark surrounding all this is Sinclair's involvement, and I haven't heard much being said about that.
What had to do with
I think
Sinclair?
the babies were actually transported to Sinclair Medical.
After?
Right? Well, when they contracted the infection. But like I said,
they're premature babies. So it's very hard to say, well,
I trust
the
that
standard is that we have to try and save after they have to go from Port of Spain to Sinclair. Like, that's an uphill battle.
I trust that the lawyers will do their due diligence. I have no issues in regards to that. However, that being said, when I was saying that you start from the ground up, you have the staff, obviously, who are charged with the unit, and even the sanitization of the unit. Then you have the heads of departments, and then you have the various medical officers as well. So you're right, you need to start from there. Why is it that the necessary sanitization or the care that was needed was not in place? Is there an issue with respect to the facilities? Is there an issue with respect to the equipment? Is there an issue with respect to the availability of funds? All of that are question marks, and that's when you go to the chain up.
Yes, and so I think there's now talks of getting the head of the neonatal unit to be put on leave, and I'm like, no, if it's a case that he didn't have enough resources, whether it's staff or funds or supplies, then it might not necessarily be his fault, although to some extent he is responsible, and if he said nothing, he still has to bear some of the responsibility for giving unspoken approval. Here's the thing though, back to the legal proceedings part about it. I think it was said that they sent an email to the legal unit of the Northwest Regional Health Authority, right? I don't know to what extent. I know if a process server served because they have to go and find the individual, right? Then it's on you if you choose to not know that you're served, however way that was done. I don't know what the legal requirement of the recipient of an email of a pre-action protocol letter, to what extent does the health authority have they are able or unable to say, well, we just didn't receive it, we just didn't see it. Because the question now is twofold. Is it one, did somebody see it and they essentially are saying, well, officially, we're not going to acknowledge it, so we didn't see it, so we're going to say we didn't see it. Or two, they legit did not see it, in which case you have a potential crisis. Well, you have a crisis on your hands, right? A public relations crisis, number one, and the potential of a lawsuit, number two. And you're not properly monitoring your communication channels. I do wonder if questions again of, capacity or proficiency if we have to ask them here as well? This is not a, ooh, somebody is trying to, you know, get a correspondence with you over spilled water and I tripped and fell and I got a bruise or something. 7 babies died. It's a little bit more serious complaint than some spurious lawsuit for minor damages, right? This could be significant depending on how it plays out in court. And the fact that they had 3 bacteria found, 3 dangerous organisms apparently were found. If it was 1, you know, then maybe you could argue, well, we did everything right, but there's always a chance, right? Because in a hospital, Keaton, you know, it's never 100% guaranteed we're going to get rid of everything. And I mentioned that yesterday. But the fact that it's 3, it makes me now, with my layman's brain, think, we really do need to ask questions about negligence or about a lack of proper of sanitation or practices. And it might not be the cleaning staff. It could be the nurses. It could be it could be one individual from that could be any part of the process. But we have those questions.
My 3 questions in respect to this, and I understand why no one has been sent on administrative leave, even though the Registered Nurses Association has called for that. Again, I think at this point in time, a thorough investigation needs to conclude exactly what happened, because how is it that, yes, I understand this is a hospital. I completely understand that. However, how was it allowed for these 3 bacteria to fester, basically, within this unit?
7 deaths as well.
Yeah, so you know, what caused it? In other words, the bacteria would have had to have been present because of contact with something or the presence of something. And
I'm sure you know, when you go from baby to baby, patient to patient, surgical field to surgical field, it's a constant sanitization.
Precisely. So that's my second point. What is best hospital practice, or what is international standards for sanitization of these units, all right, or for the care or that is necessary once babies are born? That's the second thing. And 2, is that being practiced or adhered to? Were those standards actually met? Or if those standards were not met, were the protocols that exist under the NWRHA, were they met with respect to sanitization? The other thing that you have to look at as well is treatment. What was the treatment that these babies received following their birth? At what point in time did the signs or the first onset of symptoms actually recognized, and when were they treated? What were they treated? All this, there's so many question marks.
That might be a harder
question.
question.
There's so many question marks.
I'll just close this.
Records are paper-based. Just bear that in mind.
I'll just close this by saying the Nursing Association says these deaths were predictable, as because to answer your second question there, they don't think that such efforts were practiced and sustained. That's you would apparently use sustained.
I disagree though with the opposition's first response, as is the opposition's response all the time, is to remove the minister.
Has any minister, the amount of times they have called for his head, rhetorically speaking, has any minister had to suffer through that? I think he's the most that I could remember.
I'll be quite frank with you, Sean. Again, if an investigation leads to
all the way to the top,
you know, all the way to the top.
Well, that's fine, yeah.
Right.
But it has to get
different.
to that point.
But we can't just start by saying removing the Minister of Finance, because if you replace him with someone, but the existing issues still are there.
Minister of Health.
Minister of Health.
No, finance could also be involved depending on how you view it, right?
On funding as well. But I'm just simply saying, and thank you for correcting me, if it is that you remove a Minister of Health, but the issues, the core issues that exist are still there, right? And the capacity or the capability of the minister, for whatever reason, and I know I sound like I'm making excuses, but this is essentially how Trans-Tobago works.
No, but this is how it works, wherever it may be. Because I'll say this: if the UNC won the next election and something similar happened, we'll see the same thing for a UNC minister. Because the process is the process, due process, and proper accountability doesn't just mean, well, we just, guns blazing willy-nilly. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll have a couple of quick topics before we get into the big political situation. I haven't heard Keaton's take on it myself. We have not discussed it.
What's the big political situation?
Oh, well, the UNC might be having a new fiesta.
That's not a big thing. That's just an old story with new headlines.
I think, to me, Keaton, because of who recently threw his hat into the debate, I think it's bigger than we might think. Stay tuned to talk about WSN. We'll be back. Right back.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop Ariapita Avenue Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People. FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com. Welcome back to Talking About, ladies and gentlemen. So some quick stories before we get further into the new political debate, shall we say. First off, Keaton, speaking about lawsuits, and I'm not sure to what extent there's a legal leg to stand on with this, but Ramsaran's dairy products are having a situation where they can't access foreign exchange. And their complaint is centered on the fact that it seems as though other companies seemingly have no issue sourcing foreign exchange, companies bigger than them, and companies whose profits to some extent and investment to some extent goes back abroad or is spent abroad, whereas they're saying, look, we are importing, I think it's carton containers for our local products which are sold locally, and our profits remain in circulation and utilized by our local economy. It's an interesting situation, but I do think not so much that I want to see I want to see the state sued, but rather I want to see the questions that they're posing answered. Let's put it that way, right? It's one of those things where, let's see what a judge makes of this and see what the opinions are and see what happens after.
I think the issue of foreign exchange in TNT is going to continue to frustrate every single individual, especially micro, small, and medium business enterprises. I myself have question marks over how so many of the existing businesses in TNT are able to access so much foreign exchange. And I thought to myself, well, maybe they're utilizing foreign exchange from businesses that they have in other islands, or maybe it's from other businesses or accounts that they have abroad. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, hold on, that's just not sustainable. That doesn't make any sense at all. I could be wrong. I'm due to be corrected because I'm not an attorney at law and I'm not a businessman either. But it's just knowledge I'm going with. In respect to Ramsran's dairy products not being able to attain the necessary foreign exchange, and I believe it was for the purchase of environmentally friendly paper-based packaging for a new product.
Water or liquid product. So
yeah, water or liquid product. Sean, the question over the product and the environmentally friendly product is a different topic, right? That's a different topic. I'm not talking about that. The mere fact that there is a business who, according to all indicators and reports, went through the necessary channels to access more foreign exchange. The mere fact that I take a look at the Minister of Finance in his budget presentation, always speaking about Exim banks and the amount of foreign exchange that has been thrusted into Exim Bank, especially for small and medium business enterprises. And the mere fact that a story such as this is coming up, where an established business in TNT cannot access foreign exchange for whatever reason, is absolutely frustrating for me as a citizen. Because even if I wanted to go access foreign exchange, let's say I was traveling tomorrow and I'm traveling for 1 week. Do you know how much the bank is going to give me if I'm traveling for 1 week? For 1 week, 300 US. And I have to take my ticket, I have to take a confirmation, I have to get all the evidence for 300 US. There is a business that has existed in TNT, and people will have their opinions on the business and the business people involved. You're very much entitled to that. Why? This is just speak to the complete opposite of what the Minister of Finance has been preaching to Trinbagonians for the last few years. I believe our foreign exchange reserves are at the lowest it has been for decades. Our foreign exchange reserves have been at the lowest, but there we have in a budget presentation, so much is being allocated to Exim Bank. Businesses still cannot access it or are struggling to access it. They go through the channels. They even apparently, allegedly, according to the information received, they also appealed directly to the Minister of Finance. And he refused to reverse any decisions regarding the access to foreign exchange without giving any reason. The entire question mark for me is, why is it they were denied? Exactly what is the reason they were denied for the access to foreign exchange? Precisely what is it that restricts them from gaining the money that is, according to them, necessary to run their business? Now, that being said, the Minister of Finance or those in authority might say, for new packaging, why are we going to spend money on new packaging for? The existing packaging is good enough.
Didn't they start to introduce legislation, and there was talk about having to have more eco-friendly packaging to get rid of styrofoam products?
And the number of plastic products that we I mean
right now,
how much tons of plastic we import every year?
Keaton, Ramsran products, they are sold in Port of Spain, right? I don't know about where you live, but they are sold where I live. I used to drink the milk all the time. I still have some of the peanut punch.
Everywhere.
They're sold everywhere. Notice, right? How often do you see, oh look, someone left a Ramsran carton out on the street? And how often do you say, oh look, someone left a plastic bottle caps from a local soft drink out on the street? So, to some extent, this is, the environmental concerns that apparently now the Minister of Finance has decided, oh, I could forget that conveniently. Let's not forget, conveniently, I'm not saying everything the Minister of Finance says is bad or wrong, right? Or all the decisions are bad. But I will say this, when the IMF has any positive spin, despite the fact that if you read through the lines, you see the negatives. Oh, he thumbs up. Look at what the IMF said about us. Great, right? Because look, the IMF said it. You see, an important international body said it. But then, when an important international body says anything bad about Trinidad and Tobago, what does the government say? Well, don't take them on. They don't know what's going on here. That's not relevant.
I think
that's not the truth.
Listen, you know, as somebody who is very much keeping an eye on the situation, I understand where bigger corporations and bigger entities will have some level of returns to the economy in terms of employment.
But also capital flight.
In terms of employment, but capital flight is a huge thing. And when you see businesses expanding franchise after franchise after franchise, Sean...
Foreign franchises.
Sean, exactly.
Foreign franchises.
In order to establish another franchise, a company has to pay for each franchise it operates. Not just because it's in Trinidad and Tobago, because they open any amount of franchises they want to. They have to pay for each location. On top of that, there is one particular coffee company of which I patronize. I have patronized, I do patronize. But everything in that particular company, down to the straw that is utilized, down to the napkin that is utilized, is actually imported. Every single thing is imported. And this is a franchise that is expanding. I believe their latest location is due to be in Independence Square sometime soon, right? You see all these businesses constantly expanding, and I'm not against it in the sense that, okay, it creates employment. I'm against it in the sense that when you have local businesses that also create employment and that will also help in terms of the circular flow of the economy, not being able to access the funds that are necessary to operate the business in the best way possible, that is what frustrates me.
What frustrates me too is at the current cost of living, somehow these businesses are still making headway. Businesses that I very infrequently patronize because they're too expensive for me to go there regularly. But I want to leave that there. I want to move on. Something quick that I want to bring up, and I think this is very unfortunate. If it is true, because I've reached the point, folks, where, and I've said this before, I can't keep track, Keaton, of every murder that goes on every day in TNT because I will lose my mind. That is a job by itself, and I, to some extent, used to have that job. Murder victims of one of the deceased from a couple of days ago, they're saying the reason why he was killed was not because he was involved in criminal activity, but because he did not want to be involved in criminal activity. And this, to some extent, breaks my heart. And it also I'm thinking that it's putting our backs up to a wall. Mr. Kerry Dwight Baird, his daughter turned 2 not too long before his passing, before what is believed to be his murder, right? And the family members are saying, and okay, we don't know for sure 100% if this is the truth, this is just what might be what they suspect. They're saying because he rejected people within the criminal lifestyle who told him he had to pick a side, they killed him for it. And the chilling part of that, not only is it heartbreaking because here's somebody who was attempting to do the right thing. He was a security guard at a construction on the side. He wanted to not be involved so he could help raise his daughter, and now he can't. And that's the thing. Not only did he make the right decision, but it seems as though perhaps the environment now is, well, you'll be punished for that even. Because Janelle gave me a story once of one of her relatives who lived in a not so great neighborhood, but the local pests, for lack of a better way to put it, the local street gang criminals, they knew he wasn't about that life, so they protected him from it, right? They kept him away. They told other people who might want to involve him, no, you leave him alone, because he's not about that. But in this case now, it seems to reverse. It seems as though if you're not with us, you're against us. And what does this mean for the rest of the population if this is now the way how we have to live?
I don't doubt in its essence what has been expressed about his association or not wanting to be associated with criminal elements. That being said, I still think there is more to this story. Again, may he rest in peace, and I'm so sorry because his daughters, the ones who really suffer. We keep speaking about parenting.
Another single mother has to try and figure it out on her own.
We keep speaking about parenting and the need for fathers in households, and this child has been denied that. But that being said, I think there may be a bit more to this story. It could be entirely wrong.
Yes, there might be.
However,
we don't know.
Sean Michael Small, I find it best now in Trinidad and Tobago. Not that I'm promoting anyone to be antisocial in any way, but honestly, Sean, be nice to everyone. If somebody says anything or do anything to you, and you might say this is us living in fear, giving it to criminals. This is me just wanting to ensure that I see another episode, a talking point tomorrow. Be nice to everybody. Smile, don't get involved. Keep to yourself. Stick to your own business. Focus on you. Focus on doing what you have to do. If anybody says anything to you or does anything to you, stay away. Stay away. Don't get involved. And that's what's being said here about this gentleman. I'm simply saying don't even associate yourself or try to be included or be friendly with anyone whom is suspicious.
Well, here's this. I don't want to spend too long on this, but the ASP Ali, he revealed to me that recently there were 4 students in a secondary school, 13 to 14 years old. They were found using ecstasy during school hours, right?
Yes, I think it was Caribou East.
Well, I didn't want to say the school. But
you can say the school.
But here's the thing. Now young people being involved with weed dealers and drug dealers. Even that is a risk, not just the drugs, but being involved. with something. As Keaton said, be antisocial, that's the other thing now. If I had kids, that's going to be part of the talk on drugs. It's not just to beware of drugs, it's also to beware of being associated with anyone to do with anything like that. But all right, let's move on, because I want to get your take on this.
Shall we take a quick break?
No break.
Okay, let's go straight
into this. I don't want to lose the 2 minutes or the 3 minutes. Now, I haven't gotten your opinion, or the 6 minutes, depending on the director's call. I haven't gotten your opinion on this. Just last night, the latest set of responses came out. But of course, an MP whose opinion and whose communications and reasoning, I think, has been pretty solid throughout his time in Parliament, has come out to say that the opposition leader, to borrow your phrase, is unelectable.
You keep borrowing that phrase. I think I'm going to have to copyright it so that you start paying me.
I attribute, I cite my work in every utterance of it, right? And now he's come out to say, listen, no one's trying to control you, right? It's just that we feel that victory is not a possibility and there are concerns about the party moving forward.
Who's he referring to when he says we?
Well,
he said that? He said the word we?
Did I say the word?
You just said we. We don't feel as though.
I think there is, apparently, I don't know if it's been vocalized, but there's concern of the Marsaba being the we that is trying to control Kamala when she made that statement previously that I will not be controlled.
Putting everything aside, it brings up the calls from Rushton Parry about 3 weeks to a month ago with respect to the need for...
who apparently is still meeting party groups or ex-party groups or people affiliated with the UNC at one point.
So the need for internal elections to be adhered to when it is constitutionally due. The second thing that has been raised by Dinesh Rambali is the running of the party, or how the opposition leader actually, leads, if that's how we would like to call it. And I think that you have to have question marks about inside the party exactly who is running the party, who is leading the party. And by Dinesh Rambali saying we are not trying to control you, it possibly points to other elements within the party that are causing major havoc. Now, the thing is, I've read comments on social media which I find very disheartening, where people are saying another Indian party is imploding, or Indians turning on themselves again. And I get frustrated at that comments. I'm like, well, what is this about? To me, at the end of the day, you may not agree with the process that is taking place now with people speaking publicly and to the extent of which they are speaking. And I would say, actually, it's very destructive what is happening.
But
however...
I just want to, before you go on, with the whole Indian party, another one imploding, what did the current Prime Minister do when the last time he was a part of someone else's administration? He kicked up so much of a fuss that he ended up as a backbencher.
It's not that.
So I'm just saying.
No, it's not that. It's just that how it's people always wanting to turn this into something that you have to put. You always have to put aside that conversation.
It's specific to one race.
Yeah. You have to put that aside for a moment. And the thing is, I looked at this and I said, the mere fact that individuals have decided to take it to this level speaks to the fact that internally, if there were efforts to address it, if there were efforts to deal with it, it's been ignored, and that's what Dinesh Rambali has indicated. Furthermore, I try to take a look at this with microscopic eyes, and I see the individuals who have constantly changed their tune to defend Kamala Persad-Bissessar, and I'll tell you why. When Rushton Parry came out with his comments, individuals rushed to defend Kamala Persad-Bissessar as political leader. Rushton Parry called for internal elections to be held when it was due. He never spoke about Kamala Persad-Bissessar's leadership as per se in respect to her position. It has been acknowledged that Kamala Persad-Bissessar is the duly elected leader of the UNC from the last elections. Bear that in mind. Moving forward, so the entire defense was Kamala Persad-Bissessar this, Kamala Persad-Bissessar leader, this and that, the other, blah, blah, blah. To me, they were ignoring the message of internal elections, because how is it? Candidates have put forward their nominations last week. Who is now going to decide who are the candidates running in the next elections if it is that the executive who are to oversee the screening process may change in a couple months' time? That, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Or more importantly, you're going to have the outgoing executive make decisions about the 2025 election. There's a bad faith there.
No, but that's what I want to know. Are we waiting until after the internal elections to go forward with the screening process? Or who is the executive that's actually going to be charged with dealing with this?
You might not be able to wait so long with the screening process, but then that would behoove the party to consider moving up the internal elections.
Apart from that, you know, this entire internal conflict in the UNC is not surprising. Quite frankly, in my opinion, if you want my 2 cents on this, I do not think Kamla Persad-Bissessar should be leading the United National Congress.
Oh, well, I mean, you've made
before.
that just based off of our 2 election losses.
And there are two groups that benefit from Kamla Persad-Bissessar leading the United National Congress. This is my opinion, by the way. One, obviously, the People's National Movement benefit once Kamla Persad-Bissessar. That's a given.
Of course.
That's a given.
Of course.
The second thing is, this is where I say I'm trying to look at this from a microscopic view. All the individuals who have come out in great defense of Kamla Persad-Bissessar and what they have said to defend Kamla Persad-Bissessar, I'm taking a look at individuals such as Devendranath Thakur, Khadija Amin, Barry Padarath, Ravi Ratiram, Vandana Mohit. These are the individuals.
Oh gosh.
Anyway.
I always forget his name.
That's okay. Probably not important.
The senator that she brought back from the wilderness.
Oh, Anna Roberts?
Yes.
Right? These are individuals who will benefit from Kamla Persad-Bissessar remaining there. Because my question is, what has these individuals even done within the last 5 years?
Imagine, think about it, right? If they are elected, who is going to be the workhorses in that party? Who is going to be Minister of Everything? Any one of those names?
No, but it also suggests to me that quite possibly, if I were to analyze what both Rushton Parry and Dinesh Rambali have said, that is, it seems to me, my interpretation, that those said individuals whom I've just called are the ones that are quite possibly running the party, and if anything, controlling Kamla Persad-Bissessar.
I was not going to say that. When she said, I will not be controlled, I found that statement very ironic because there were allegations of a cabal during the partnership, and more importantly, you kind of look at the situation and you're thinking, Madam, are you truly in charge and independent?
Not only is...
Or are you not being controlled by somebody else?
Not only is the United National Congress the furthest thing from united right now, and this is why I said the People's National Movement have always done a better job in terms of public relations. There is infighting in the PNM.
Yes.
I've heard that from so many quarters. Right? There's infighting.
Not to spell it out, we saw that play out at the Balize House reopening.
Right. So
publicly, but subtly.
There is infighting going on, but that has not come out publicly. So that is where the United National Congress falls. But it seems as though they cannot deal with the matters internally. 2, Kamla Persad-Bissessar, as far as I'm concerned, you give her a grace and her grandeur and gratitude at the fact that she was elected a prime minister. She did lead Trinidad and Tobago for 5 years. She led a coalition. She led a partnership. She has done well. You do not take that away from her. Put it this way. She did so well, she lost the next election. In my opinion, that's a whole different story. If you want
more than one of her partners collapsed as political entities.
If you want to talk about the People's Partnership and the 2015 election,
she did so well. She had to fire how many ministers? I lost count.
As my thought is,
Section 31, Section 34.
Listen, honorable opposition leader, it is time to enjoy the benefits of retiring. Because, put it this way, as opposition leader, in my humble opinion, as an individual who has sent countless requests to interview you, knowing the excuses that I've heard from both Senator Damian Lyle and Dr. Kirkmayu, that she's very much open to the press. There's never been a prime minister or an opposition leader that has interacted with the press more than Kamala Prasad-Bisasa.
I think I only have one interview that she's taken.
Recently, and that was pre-recorded. I don't think Kamala Prasad-Bisasa can actually wake up on a morning to do an interview, and that may be besides the point, but it also goes to the fact, could she function as prime minister? Two, what are her contributions to conversations? I mean, this thing about load up the matic and empty the clip, and I'm raising once more. As you as opposition leader say, who are you appealing to? Who are you speaking to? What are you speaking about? That's another thing. Three, not for one instance do I think that Kamala right now is leading the party. So what makes me think that if she were to be elected as prime minister, which I think is quite difficult at this point, would she be leading the country?
Hold on. I would just want to point out, you're right that the PNM benefits with Kamala as the political leader of the UNC. I'll just say this. They'll benefit, yes. That doesn't mean that they will win the election. But it does mean that if they lose, it's not because Kamala came at them and soundly whipped them into defeat. It was more that the voters were like, well, we're going to go in a different direction, even if that different direction is not necessarily better, at least it's different.
You see, everything now is also a show. The thing is that my criticisms of the opposition leader are not unfounded. It's what I've seen. In my position as a commentator...
Hasn't what Dinesh Rambali said kind of, it's not that he spoke to you and you all compared notes, but when you look at it, what he says does not invalidate anything that what you said.
The thing is that I'm not a part of the party. I'm not a member of the party. And quite frankly, what is happening internally has to be sorted out. Now, what are Kamala Prasad-Bisasa's options? Well, she could do what is possibly the most expected thing to do, make a power move and clear out house.
Yep.
Right? So that is quite...
And you lose one of your best MPs.
That is quite possible, that you make a power move and you clear out house. And the thing is that what does that mean in terms of your popularity? Two, Kamala Prasad-Bisasa honestly needs to make a decision about her future. She has said it publicly that she intends to lead the United National Congress once given the opportunity in the next general elections. To me, what she's doing is that she's not thinking about the greater good of the party, or by extension, in her eyes, the greater good of the country. I think Kamala Prasad-Bisasa is thinking about herself and the power that she enjoys with being opposition leader. She's been opposition leader for the last 10 years, and might I say, it's been a very poor opposition. It really has been a poor opposition. And if it's one thing you can say about Keith Rowley, you may disagree with his style of politics, you will disagree with his policies, you will disagree with governing the country. You have every right to do so, and I would agree with you on many instances of that. But he has proven himself to lead. You know, he has proven himself to lead. In whatever capacity, he has proven himself fit to lead. Again, you will disagree with his style, policies, and whatnot. I will probably agree with you if you disagree with his style policies. But he has proven.
A very popular candidate. He beat a very popular candidate. He showed himself to be, to the public, a more suitable alternative, and she has not been able to reverse that trend in the general elections afterwards.
No, so what is happening now, and the United National Congress has to go through this transformation. It's a pity that it's happening just before an election, because it only...
Will it be a transformation?
Will it be? It will be in one way or the other. A transformation in the sense that the party could either... there are three things that could happen. One, we could try and stable ourselves, right? Because what I find amazing is that the first response is Mother Kamala, or Kamala is a leader for all, or
condemn Rambali, the individual, and not what he's saying.
No, the releases, exactly. The releases I get from individuals within the party, and then the next thing is always a PNM agent, or a PNMite, or PNM politics, or this and that. And I'm here like...
one of the most effective parliamentary debaters for the opposition is a PNM plant. That's sad.
What are you thinking in terms of...
That's sad.
Sometimes only don't even make an effort in terms of the release. But the whole thing is, one, it will either become stable to fight the next election. Two, it will only get worse.
Well, okay.
If things remain.
Let's pause that there. I'll respond to that, but we have to break for news on the hour at this point in time. When we come back, I'll respond to that, and we'll open the phone lines. Don't worry, stay tuned to talk about WS, and we'll be right back.
Here is the WESN News on the Hour. I am Sierra Ali. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Amara's stepfather sent to St. Anne's Psychiatric Hospital. NWRHA potentially facing multiple lawsuits following the deaths of at least 7 infants. 2 female students from a secondary school sustained injuries in an accident. And local and Venezuelans arrested for firearm offenses in South. Now for the details. The man charged with murdering 4-year-old Amara Lalit has been sent to St. Anne's Psychiatric Hospital. Inchan Constant, 39, appeared this morning before Master Margaret Sukraj Goswami, who ordered him to be sent there for assessment. Sukraj Goswami made the order after Constant's attorney, Mario Merritt, made an application which was supported by the prosecution. Constant will return to court on May 1st. He was charged on April 12 after homicide detectives received instructions from Director of Public Prosecutions Roger Gaspard, SC. A post-mortem on Lalit's body on April 11th revealed she was beaten and beheaded. The Northwest Regional Health Authority is potentially facing multiple lawsuits following the deaths of at least 7 infants earlier this month. Led by Anand Ramlogan, SC, Freedom Law Chambers delivered a pre-action protocol letter to the NWRHA CEO on behalf of the parents of the 7 deceased infants. Shania Raymond Adams, Natasha Samuel, Shaquille Harry, Danielle Samaru, Tennille Saunders, Jody Molino, and Cherise Moore-Beckles. These 7 infants who succumbed to a bacterial outbreak at the Port of Spain General Hospital earlier this month are now at the forefront of a legal battle over allegations of medical negligence. The news of their deaths shocked the public earlier this week, especially given the lack of prior communication from the NWRHA regarding the incident. While the NWRHA release earlier this week acknowledged the infants' deaths, it refrained from specifying the exact number. In a pre-action protocol letter, it was highlighted that while the media has shed light on the 7 deaths from Logan SC and Freedom Law Chambers are still in the process of assessing the full extent of the tragedy, as numerous other parents have come forward with similar harrowing accounts. 2 female students from a secondary school sustained injuries in an accident on Arima Old Road around 9 a.m. on Monday. A circulating video on social media captured the overturned vehicle in a drain off the roadway with students inside. Reports indicate that students who were being transported to school by a family member received assistance from a fire officer at the scene. Considering onlookers gathered as the situation unfolded. Southwestern Division officers arrested 6 persons, seized a firearm, a quantity of ammunition, and marijuana during exercises held in the division on Sunday. Around 4:30 a.m. on 14 April, officers of the Southwestern Division Task Force were on mobile patrol during an Operation Safe Streets exercise in the vicinity of Phillip Avenue when they intercepted a green Nissan Almera vehicle with 4 occupants. When the officers searched the vehicle, they found a Beretta pistol fitted with a magazine containing 2 rounds of ammunition under the driver's seat. A 54-year-old man from Penal Rock Road and 3 Venezuelan nationals, including 2 males, aged 29 and 24, and a 22-year-old female were arrested. Also, during the exercise, 2 other suspects, a 20-year-old from Beckle Street, Penal, and a 33-year-old from Sobo Village, Labre, were arrested for the possession of marijuana totaling to 113.42 grams. Well, that's it to News on the Hour on WESN. I am Sierra Ali. Thank you for watching.
Fellow citizens, I am Rajiv Dipti. In my business, I meet people from all walks of life. I hear their stories, from struggles to successes. The supreme law of our country that safeguards our individual rights and freedoms as we go about our daily lives is the Constitution. It was amended back in 1976, but life is different now. The Constitution can be altered through legislative reforms. So please submit your recommendations to constitutionalreform2024.gov.tt by the 15th of April. It's your future, your Constitution, your voice.
Welcome back to Talking Point, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. I just wanted to add quick. I still have questions over this whole UNC into the election story where, it came out that, they'll have it, just not with the position of the political leader being up for grabs, if my memory serves correct. And I do have to ask, how can you have an inter-elections in good faith where you'll determine the executive of the party, but you can't determine, if you're going to affirm the political leader or not? And I do remember we had an interview in Basil Pandey. He himself questioned the last UNC interim election, and I'll leave that there. I don't wanna say anything more.
What about you? But I feel like drinking a peanut punch all of a sudden.
I mean, it's true. The thing about Ramsarans is that it's one of those things where you don't always see it all the time everywhere, but then when you do see it, you're like, peanut punch, Yeah, I haven't had milk in a while.
I haven't had peanut punch in years.
Nah, man.
I'm telling you.
And that's the peanut punch that I go for, actually. We have not been paid for this, folks. This is just legit. It is what it is. Every now and then, Mom also buys a couple. But, folks, let's open the phone line. Before, if anything, I'll give further commentary about what's going on with our political situation. But let's open the phone lines. We want to hear from you, the viewer. Call in, have your say. Not so much people calling about what's going on with the UNC. I don't know if we're taking it for granted.
No, I think people are just tired and fed up.
But the election is coming up. Like, I understand people
because
being tired of fed up, but
you have to understand,
to just leave things as they are, Keaton, and then complain, oh my gosh, how did things get so bad? Well, crime, the economy. We need to have good leaders who think strategically, who plan strategically, and who don't just do things based on whatever agenda they have, which arguably, if they are truly thinking about the long-term prospect of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, then at the very least, looking at the results, we have to question the capacity of the individuals we're selecting. And that is assuming that they're planning things to benefit the nation and not other parties, whoever they may be. Right? So one way or the other, the results speak for themselves. But if we want to continue going down this course, we can continue going down this course.
Yeah, you sound like you're campaigning. I'm just...
Yeah, but for what?
I'm simply saying to you, Sean Michael Small, that people out here in TNT, their opinion is PNM or UNC in the next election. If both parties remain as is, nothing's going to get better. So even if I vote for PNM in the next election, or if I say I want to vote for the UNC, nothing's going to necessarily change nor get better.
I mean, the worst thing that could happen if Kamala wins, the second worst thing that could happen is if Rowley wins. I'm just going to say it that way. Right? I'm just going to say it that way.
Okay.
Because there's a chance that one or the other could still be replaced, and there's also other parties out there. So that's technically not the only option, but it's the only ones people are going to think of as viable. And I don't know if that's a correct assumption to make. We have Clarkson on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Sean. Morning, Keaton.
Good morning, Mr. Fisherman. Thank you.
Yeah. On the health sector, right?
Yes.
Senior citizens. Spent 7 days about 6 weeks ago in the hospital. Now, noticing that does it have how do you call it, people who maintenance staff in the hospital? And that one, because I tapped with the doctors and the nurses in the ward using. I was there for 7 days and nights. And that tap is running day and night. Nobody, the doctors have to use that to wash their hands. That's one. The bathroom not working. You have to go wrong from there if you can't walk to go there. They had to go around to the next ward to use their bathroom, the shower that is so too. And look over in a month now, I have my donor rate for the blood. I have to get a pint of blood. And I go in there every week. They'll take a blood to the test and march up. And up to yesterday, I went and they don't have it. They said they have people in for it. I don't know where you are going in the health sector.
I don't think anybody does. I don't think anybody does.
It's really chaos for seniors. If you have to hire a car, you're trying to walk, got to carry you. You can't, when you go to India Park, India Park in San Fernando, and that's the new hospital, teaching hospital talking about there. India Park. Yeah. So it really cares for senior citizens. So, you know, and somebody, not even the nursing doctor is very nice to you, but somebody like the clerk and they really like how to put hoggish boy. Yesterday one, she didn't check my card. She told me today's not your appointment. So I said, look at the top there, the mark the 15th or the 4th. She telling me no, look at the 17th, but I didn't know take my blood test and I put the next date now and below. And she tells me, and she arguing with me, and I didn't agree, but I call back my daughter, she come to credit. And when they see, she say, okay, sorry, they really like hoggish to young old people, boy. I don't know if they're going to get old. Thank you very much. Listen also.
Thank you very much, Caller, for your contribution.
I mean,
I'm glad you're well, by the way.
Yes, it goes to what part of the story is coming out of the 7 premature babies. That one of the mothers had to get a blood filter for transfusion. Now, after her daughter died, she had to purchase it herself. They asked her to purchase it because they didn't have any. After her daughter died, she was apparently reimbursed. But the fact that it had to have been requested anyway, I'm just like, what?
She had to purchase it herself.
We're not talking about, we're running short of cotton balls or pillows.
I will comment more on the experience of the public healthcare system.
We have San Fernando, I think, on the line.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
This is not my main contribution, but let me just say this. It's amazing that when you look at the political landscape, how the people that want to be or want to run the democracy behave like dictators. Amazing. Let me just get into what my main contribution. The issue with the Ramsaran company. You know, what is there is competition for foreign exchange, right? And who is at the top of the line? Would it be the people that import tires for all the cars that in Trinidad? The people that import parts, automotive parts? Is it the people that bring in import medicine? Is it the people that bring in onion, garlic, potato, carrots? Who is the priority? The issue is the country is not making enough foreign exchange for our what would be seemingly our needs. We are not making enough. So what you see happening, you mentioned Keaton, you want to go on a vacation and you can only get $300, right? So what is happening in the economy is that we are spending more foreign exchange than we are earning. Therefore, our reserves are depleting. And this is a serious issue for Trinidad and Tobago. And if we don't arrest this thing, what is going to happen is more of what you see with Ramsaran is going to happen in the economy. There are going to be more companies and people are going to be hedging their bets and leveraging their relationships, and things are going to fall by the wayside. This is what is going to happen if we do not look at how the country is being developed and develop industries that are going to be foreign exchange earners, so we can better manage or have a better quality of life. Or simply, the quality of life in Trinidad and Tobago is going to have to be curtailed. or will be curtailed just by that decision.
Yeah, Cole, I think
Have
it's
a great
heading
day.
there. Thank you
Have a
very
good day,
much.
gentlemen.
Thank you thank you for your contribution. And I will say, you said that there is a competition for foreign exchange, and I very much understand where you're coming from. The question is whether or not we can say it is a competition if
Is that a fair competition?
if it's a fair competition, if the winners are always decided beforehand. So
I don't know if they decided beforehand. I'm just wondering if some
it seems
people
as though
play
there's
by.
put it this way, there's preferential winners.
Right, I think some people play by certain rules and other people play by other rules. Or some people play a different game to other people. Let's put it that way.
Good morning, caller from Shagonas. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
I wish to have a say on the program.
Yes, you're on the air, caller.
Okay, great. The issue of not so much about the individual politicians, but the policies of these political organizations. In particular, Speaker is talking about the Ramsaran and the whole the spoliation of the environment. So the thing is, that's policy from all these governments that are out, support with foreign exchange and everything. Those companies, especially the bigger ones, who traditionally have imported food for our consumption in the country. And I think that's completely wrong because it doesn't speak to any progressive policy for the local agricultural sector. Secondly, the nutrition we get from these imported things, the issue of food safety and so on, is severely compromised because there are no systems in place really to check and follow up and so on. Local companies are forced to go through with it because they have to fight up with the imported stuff. But for now, I'm concerned about the policy with respect to food production and nutrition.
Thank you very much for your contribution. And I think you've raised a point that oftentimes we speak about food security and we don't focus on nutrition security, which is two different things. I mean, they go hand in hand, but nutrition security as well is a topic I think we tend to ignore.
Well, it made me think of something. Whereas, okay, I get it. We're importing food. I'm not saying that we should just try and stop importing food, somehow cold turkey and hope for the best. But perhaps there are foreign brands we don't need. We don't need all the breakfast cereals from Kellogg's to the quantity that we have it. We don't need all of the foreign snacks to the quantity that we have it. We could still keep some of it. We could still maybe keep all of it, just not the amount, right? And I think to some extent, perhaps these things need to be limited. Now, if it's in the form of tariffs or a tax, then that might unfortunately cause the price of what is brought in to go up unnecessarily and impact people's standard of living. But I do think to some extent, I can understand importing cheaper chicken. I can understand importing, certain types of food, because the competitive advantage is there. And I'm talking about vegetables, meat, grains, right? But to say snacks and all of these fancy things that aren't always necessary, right? Processed foods and unhealthy foods, and it goes back to what you just said, nutrition security.
I think, I understand why we need to import chicken, because the amount of chicken that we consume does not meet the supply. So demand does not meet supply.
And right now it's cheaper.
But I'll be quite honest with you. I think it's most frustrating that we have not been able to put things in place where our chicken supply meets our demands. Now, I know people may say it is very difficult, but I have not even seen a start in that. Rice, for example, we import a lot of rice, and I believe that a couple of years ago there were efforts to try and establish a local rice mill. Central or South Trinidad. I don't know where that it was a sorting ceremony and everything. I don't know what's the status of that right now. But you're right in the sense that we import quite a lot, and sometimes we probably import too much, and that's the thing. You don't want to take away variety. Now, if you take a look on shelves, a lot of stuff are disappearing product by product. So the variety that once existed isn't there, but there's still some variety. But you would be surprised. I've spoken to people who visited Trinidad, who are living abroad, who are living in countries these days developed, first world, and they say a lot of our local products are far superior, are better quality than the products that they get in their own country.
Right.
So that really says something.
And the thing is, the easy way out, I'll just import it to sell. And that's the business model. That's why all these franchises are coming on here. When will we actually have, I don't know, smart businessmen who will figure out a way to have a local production model? What needs to be done to bring prices down so that they can compete with cheaper imported goods? You know, because that will be one hell of an investment and business if it can be done.
If you're running a business, I think any businessman or businesswoman very smart enough as it is.
They take the easy way out, Keaton. That's all we know with regards to business. Oh my gosh, look how great this conglomerate is. How much do they actually produce? We have a caller from Chaguanas. Good morning, caller. Morning, Professor.
Greetings and salutations, my friend.
Yeah, last week when I asked Sean who it is wanted to know why the government changed from land and building taxes, he said he don't think it was him. But over that long weekend and looking at your place, he was the man who asked why the government changed from land and building taxes to this new stuff. And I think you should ask Karen that. She was the minister at the time, and she should be I asked on a number of occasions, because they said it was local government reform, and I said nobody asked in the local government reform for a change in the law. What they asked for was to pass the land and building taxes government owned to the regional authorities. And they drafted a law to do that, but they never declared. You ever hear about the doctrine of hot pursuit?
I can't say I'm familiar with it.
Well, the doctrine of hot pursuit is if somebody does some illegal thing and the authorities is pursuing them and they cross an international boundary, they can go across it.
Okay.
And if the people on the other side, the law authorities on the other side, once they are satisfied with that, they are sought to assist them. I would like to know what this thing going on in Gaza is about. But it's obvious Gaza. Hamas went across into Israel. They attacked people. And then the Israelis pursued them. And if they had a real government in Gaza, they should have arrested the Hamas people. Instead, they hid them. And these Hamas have this idea of shooting from under cover in the midst of civilians. And when people shoot back at them, they claim that they're killing civilians. But they don't wear no uniform. Any questions?
No questions.
As usual, none, but then you say
I don't have any, but you've said it all. Thank you very much. Have a good one.
I mean, I've reached the point where the situation in that part of the world, most people who speak about it don't understand it. I know enough to know that, and I also know enough to know that I don't fully understand it, because we want to imprint or project our sensibilities from our culture, our upbringing, our environment, our reality onto them. As much as they're similar to us, they're also human beings, etc., etc. There are differences, folks, from their politics, their leaders. I mean, think about it. If we have our leaders and we complain about them so much, now imagine if our leaders would trigger happy people that wanted to go to war with military force. Do we expect our leaders to do so responsibly?
While you were making your contribution, I did look up the doctrine of hot pursuits, and there are two things that came up. There's the theory of hot pursuit, and then there's the doctrine of hot pursuit. And the doctrine of hot pursuit says, the right of hot pursuit empowers a coastal state to pursue onto the high seas a vessel that has violated its laws while within its waters, thereby denying to the offending vessel the opportunity to escape punishment by attempting to hide behind the right of free navigation designed to protect innocent vessels. Then there is the theory of hot pursuit, which provides police may pursue a fleeing suspect into a home without a warrant when they have probable cause to make an arrest, and when the arrest was already in motion in a public place within their jurisdiction. That's United States law, by the way. That's just US law.
I don't think it's necessarily limited to maritime pursuits.
No, there's the hot pursuit theory, and then in the United States, and then there is the doctrine of hot pursuit,
so
which is
because there's
international maritime law.
There's also the whole thing about military officers and engagement of forces, you know, over borders, etc., etc. Although usually, with regards to military forces, caller, a state's command authority over the military will have rules of engagement to say if they can or cannot. And that is usually more of a political decision than a legal one, because to some extent, I think part of the thing with international law people need to understand, there is no such thing as the law of international law. There's no legislative body that made international law. It's all by treaty. And if someone violates international law, there is no court and government above the state's government. There's no international government. The UN is not a government that will have the same sort of legal authority, right, that a state's parliament and government will have over its country. So things get a little bit tricky. Technically speaking, I think for the most part, Israel would have had rule of engagements, and then they would have changed them to facilitate whatever it is that they were doing recently, which I still say seemed, militarily speaking, quite unnecessarily and foolish.
We have one last caller for the morning. Good morning, caller.
Yes.
Good morning.
On this doctrine of hot pursuit, I don't know where you get that definition from. But I'm not talking about military people. Military people are covered by prisoners of war, rules and regulations. I am talking about civilian people who commit the crimes, right? And the authorities in chasing them, if they go across, because if they're going to a man's house, that's a simple thing, right? But if they go across a border, they could go across a border if they're in hot pursuit. But where they meet the authorities on the other side, they will have to deal with them. And the people on the other side, the authorities on the other side, are supposed to assist them if they are satisfied. That is what I bring it into the Gaza thing. And I don't know of no law applying that side of the world that is different. There are international regulations that came through the United Nations and these people and the League of Nations before them, and these have some sort of binding on their members, because when they breach them, they can be brought before the United Nations. Any questions? Or you wait till I hang up?
Well, before you hang up, caller, from what we've read, and I think what Keaton has read might be correct, with regards to the actual UN conventions, it might be limited to maritime borders. The United States apparently tried to apply it over land borders, and also right, well, I mean, yes, they did it, right?
They do it.
They do it. I don't know to what extent it is viewed by the UN as legal, and also with regards to the maritime situation, if the boat crosses into the territorial waters of another jurisdiction. Right. So the main thing that apparently is ratified in Article 23 of the Geneva Convention, and then in the United Nations Convention of the Law of the Sea, Article 111, is they could go from their territorial waters, law enforcement, into international waters to continue pursuit. Right? But to say that they could go into somebody else's waters.
Not the water I'm talking about.
Right. So I think it might be a common law principle. I don't think it's
that's common law, it will still apply.
Well, the thing is, even that and all, I don't even know if a court has settled the matter to say if it's formally adopted or not. I think it's been practiced by one country.
It's logical. If a man enter your country, whether you know his nationality or not, it has nothing to do with the man nationality.
Well,
he commit a crime.
Yeah.
You're chasing him.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I thank you very much, caller, for Chigonis.
The thing is, to some extent, it really just comes down to the relations of the two countries involved, because the country that he escaped into might decide, no, we're going to prevent these gringos from coming in. They just might decide that. Other countries might say, well, fine, continue, or no, we will have to do it, and you could come with us, and we will do a joint exercise. It all depends on I think the individual relationships between each country to each other country.
I'm the one that studied international relations and political science. And I just have to simply say, well done to both of you all for a healthy debate. But that's it for Talking Point.
Is it? That's it?
That's it.
That's all?
That's the it. No more hot pursuits.
No more hot pursuits?
No more hot pursuits, yeah.
I mean, caller, I think though to some extent Gaza has reached a point where the concept of hot pursuit is kind of redundant. They went a full-on invasion.
Yes, anyway, you know,
That's the unfortunate
we've
thing.
actually not spoken on the Israel-Gaza war conflict, however you'd like to phrase it, and we need to have a conversation on that sometime.
All right,
but
we can have this week because Iran just decided to, you know...
Well, it was retaliation.
Israel and Iran has decided, hey, you know, Gaza is too small. We need to expand the party, apparently.
Anyway, Sean Michael Small, good being here once more. Thank you very much for your conversation, your contribution, and for allowing me to grace this show.
I mean, we weren't too pessimistic, were we? We were kind of pessimistic?
I don't think so. I don't think we were. I think we
were
were
pessimistic.
On the spectrum of being healthy.
I mean,
slash frustrated.
At the end of the day, we live in this country. We believe in it. We want to see it do better. And we need people to do their part to make it better. Keaton?
I need a cup of coffee. But yeah, thanks very much. That was a good way to outro the show.
We will see you tomorrow morning. Have a good day. Make it so.
Today is a good day. To have a good day.
I think he forgets.
I forget what?
Bye-bye.
WESN.
Trinbagonians, you may know me as Blaze. Through my TV and radio shows, you've invited me into your lives. Now, the media's freedom to speak out on behalf of citizens to reveal the facts fearlessly is enshrined in our Constitution. It means we can openly demand accountability for the performance of public officers and authorities. Should your Constitution demand more too? Submit your views to constitutionalreform2024.gov.tt by the 15th of April. It's your future, it's your Constitution, and it's your voice.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop Ariapita Avenue Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People. Fan Zone, Your reliable, authentic supplier has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Coming soon to WESN.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'll ask is why.
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren. Coming soon to WESN.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit. And then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
We are WESN, the premier platform for Caribbean content. WESN, covering West, East, South, and North. WESN, we entertainment, sports, and news. WESN, available on Greendot 7, Amplia 118, Airlink 17, Bmobile 107, Digicel